In today's video, I'm going to show you how to use an ATC sized card on 2 projects. So hopefully that will give you some ideas of some other ways you can use ATCs. We're going to start by building the ATC and then we're going to add it to the projects. So for this project, I've decided to use these little hanging bats that we're going to use on our ATCs. And to do that, I've just stamped those images and then used different alcohol-based markers to do the coloring of the bats and the tree limbs. I've also got some little stars that we're going to use. So now I'm going to show you how we can build the ATC with these stamped and colored images. I've got 2 of my base cards that I'm going to use since we're doing 2 projects. And these are just white pieces of cardstock that are 2 1/4 by 3 1/4 in length. The overall size of our ATC is 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. So I just use a little bit smaller than that. We're going to do some layering of different cardstock. For today's project, we're going to be using some different inks and the ink brushes. And we'll start off just with the first card. What I had envisioned for this is a dark night sky. And I'm going to do the coloring to kind of blend in. We're going to go from a pink to a purple with a little bit of black around the edges. I'm going to start with the lighter color, the pink, and this is from Stampin' Up. It's called Bubble Bath. And then I have my brush. I use brushes along the same color scheme. I've got the pink over here on the left-hand side and the purple on the right. We're just going to ink up our brush. And then when we get ready to do this, I'm mainly going to do along the bottom here, this pink. So I'm going to start with my color on the outside on my scratch paper so that it's not so harsh. And just bring that in onto the paper to get that color there. So almost halfway of the paper, we're going to do the pink, and I'm going to go ahead and do the second card. We'll just do this, work on the same pieces at the same time. And now we're going to use the Gorgeous Grape color for the purple. The same brush, inking that up and coming off the side. And we're just going to do our coloring of a night sky in October. Now I like to do this too. Notice how the edge of the card gets a little bit. I just like to see sometimes the darker there to define, maybe, I guess you could say. But to do a little bit more definition, I'm going to take just basic black ink, and I have a sponge to use with this, a well-used, well-loved sponge, and I'm kind of going to just go along all the edges, and then maybe at the top add a little bit along the top for that night sky. Okay, so just to give us a little bit of coloring, using 1 3/4 inch circles, I'm going to use my punch and create a moon. Now, most of the time when we look up in the sky, we see, or normally it is portrayed as a white moon. I'm going to use, though, some yellow to get the illumination of the moon to show up on our card. So I have my brush, and I'm going to be using Daffodil Delight with this. So again, a lot of times we'll use these brushes and this technique so that it doesn't totally take away the white of the paper, but it gives us still a softer image, I guess you could say. And we're going to use that brush on both. And again, I'm going to now take my sponge and give the edges just a little deeper coloring ink around those edges. And you'll see how I think this makes it stand out better once we put it down on our paper. Now I want to add the stamped sentiment to the very bottom of both of these little cards. It says, "I'm Batty for you." And I'm going to go ahead and do this so that it will help me in my placement of each of the pieces. Now we'll go ahead and build the card. We're going to add our moon, and then we have our branches that will say the moon's in the distance, and we're going to have the bat hanging from the tree. So we've got to give ourselves enough room. So now we've got the scene built on each of these ATCs, and I'm going to show you the different ways you can use it. Of course, you can always take this card, this 2.5 by 3.5 card, and use it for whatever you may like. You can add it to a regular 4.25 by 5.5 card, or so now I have this tag that's about 2.5 by 4.5 in length. And notice I have this one card that I have not put the backing on. So this is still about a 2.25 by 3.25. And it fits just perfectly. I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but this has a stitched edge, and I used a die cut to cut that. If you don't have a die that could do that, then you can just trim it out yourself and put the little angles, or keep it straight. Keep it as a rectangle and put your little hole there. So this is a perfect fit, I think, right there. And so we're going to glue that down. Or we're going to tape that down, and fits right here along the edge. And then a tag is not complete without a little ribbon. So I chose the purple ribbon to kind of pull out the purple from the night sky. And I think the way I'm gonna do this one, I can make the hole bigger if I needed to, but I think I just want to loop this through. We'll loop it through here. And then I have this tiny black ribbon that we're going to use to tie it off and make another little piece of ribbon there, but it will also keep it in place. Two purposes: keep the ribbon in place, but we'll also add. So we're just going to do a double knot here, and I'm probably going to trim that down. And here is our tag. That gives us a nice tag with a ribbon. You can make a regular size card, or here I just have a little note card, a 3 by 4, and our little 2.5 by 3.5 is going to fit perfectly on there. Before I glue that on the front, I'm going to put a little message on the inside of the card. This might be a little something that if you have maybe a little treat bag and you want to include a card. And we're going to put Happy Halloween on that. So adding a little stamped sentiment on the inside. And then all we'll have to do after we have this built, I'm going to add a little tape to the back side. Make sure that is good. And then we're going to tape this down. And we have our nice little note card that can go with our gift, or you can have a tag that is attached to a bag. I love making these little scenes. So I encourage you to take your stamps, build these little scenes, create the little cards and the little tags, and have fun with it and make little treats that you can hand out to friends. In an upcoming video, we're going to show you exactly how you can make some really cool candy treats.